All right. There we go. All right. There we go. Can everyone see it okay? Yeah, perfect. Okay. Okay. That's you, Susan.
So what is Open Farm Days? So it's a province-wide event inviting Albertans to learn about and experience the rural life. It'll be on Saturday and Sunday, August 13th and 14th, 2022, where farms can open their gates to the general public and a series of culinary events. Visitors are treated to authentic and educational rural experiences, backstage pass for visitors to see your farms firsthand and meet the farmers, opportunity to learn where food comes from and how it's produced, learning where and how to support a local food system, and exploring rural Alberta. Where it all began. Farm Days exists in pockets around North America, Europe, and Australia. In Canada, it started back in 2001 by the Agricultural Alliance of New Brunswick. Since then, several other provinces have joined in with days or weekends to celebrate regional agriculture. Our goals are to help Albertans understand how their food is made and where their food comes from, provide Albertans an opportunity for experiential learning connected to rural lifestyles, support local farmers by introducing them to the concept of ag tourism, generate awareness of ag tourism operators throughout Alberta. Benefits of the program: it builds connections, terrific marketing opportunity, become ambassadors, and increases tourism opportunities. Who participates? Farms that have grain, animal as in beef, bison, pork, sheep, dairy, apiaries, mixed, and U-picks. Beverage producers such as breweries and distilleries and wineries, chefs, ag tourism operators, ag societies, and farmers markets. Who attends? Families, new residents, other farmers, and people who are interested in agriculture. The farm experience can have guided and self-guided tours, wagon rides, visit with farm animals, wash and sort eggs, pick vegetables and berries, learn about plant varieties, listen to speakers, cooking demonstrations, tastings, beehive viewings, and you can purchase farm fresh products. The big picture of what we offer: capacity building. So we'll give you checklists and training for hosting on-farm events. We'll give you coaching and support for your Open Farm Days events, support for event day insurance and signage, training support for permitting, such as training for Alberta Health Services and training for Alberta Gaming and Liquor Commission. We'll do media and marketing, training and awareness. Our team will support your business through digital programming, through website, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as media opportunities and training for your agritourism business.
Hi, my turn. I'm Nicole, I'm the marketing coordinator for Open Farm Days. So our media and marketing planning. So I'm sure some of you haven't already registered. The dates this year are August 13th and 14th. And so as Open Farm Days is an open house with culinary events as well, if you're interested in culinary events for both days. We haven't finished our website yet. Hopefully it's done in the next 2 weeks. And we'll have areas on our website if you are only interested in doing culinary events, as like special events. So if your community is interested in doing community events as well as you will have your own page on the website for your farm Open Farm Days event. So you can plan your route at our website, Alberta Farm Days, openfarmdays.ca. So what we will talk about right now is what Open Farm Days provides, how to market your event, and how to plan your route. So Open Farm Days engages in the following marketing and public relation activities that increases the awareness and engagement for Alberta Open Farm Days and uses 4 tactics. So first one, we provide tools and resources for farms. So you'll be able to find that on our website, or come to myself and we can talk about how we can help. We spend almost $60,000 on advertising across the province in digital and traditional media. So those are Google ads, Facebook, Instagram ads, and also advertising. Last year, we had a partnership with Chorus. So we had television ads in Lethbridge, Calgary, Edmonton, Grand Prairie, as well as purchasing ads for local radio stations all the way from Grand Prairie to St. Paul, all the way down to the bottom of the province. So this is a province-wide event. So we provide advertising across the province. And earned media, we send out press releases and we'll set up media interviews with yourself and either your local media, so that could be your local newspapers, your local radio stations, to kind of let your community know, as well as province-wide media such as like Global News, CTV, CBC, those kinds of things. We do social media marketing, which hasn't really launched yet. We're waiting for our website to be done. And then influencer marketing. So using local chefs, local food writers, bloggers, to talk about Open Farm Days and how people can participate as a visitor. So we talk about this real quickly, we got social media ads, Google ads, radio ads, newspaper, and TV ads. And again, that's across the province. So if you look at this map here, you can see where all our farms were last year, and then where our media reaches. And again, it's across the province, not just in the metro areas. So when we're marketing, so something that's really important to know, because sometimes this can get confusing, is when we're doing marketing, we're marketing Open Farm Days as a whole, not specifically your farm, because what we want to do is bring audiences out to your farm, but then also to other farms in that region. So that's why we hit the whole province. If someone's leaving Red Deer, maybe they want to go look home, maybe they want to go to Rocky Mountain House. So we want to market the Open Farm Days program as a whole, and we can help you with marketing your own Open Farm Days program at your own farm as well. One thing, sorry, while I go back here, we do work with the Minister's Office. Open Farm Days is supported by Travel Alberta and Alberta Ag and Forestry, so they help us with that, and often the ministers and their offices are involved in Open Farm Days as well. So tools we provide to help you market your event. Hi. Tools that we provide to host your site, or we provide posters and postcards, agricultural resources, culinary resources through TANIS, communications resources, which you will again find on the back end of our website, and I can go through that with you in a minute. Seminars. So we have previous training. We started a training program back in, I believe it was in November. So we have lots of videos that if you're unsure about how to do something, that we can send you those training resources, or just feel free to reach out and we can see how we can help, and coaching through one-on-ones. On our website at albertaopenfarmdays.ca, if you go /host resources, or if you go on the website and look up host resources, there is a page dedicated to resources for farms, whether that's checklists, those kinds of things. Again, the website's getting updated. We're hoping it's done soon, but we will have updated resources on that site very soon. So how can you get the most out of your Open Farm Days event? So the very first thing you can do is put yourself into the visitor's shoes. If you've never been to a farm before, which many of the visitors had never been to a farm before, or they have generational experience for a farm, but so their experience is very limited. The best thing that you can do to market your farm is to have a really good description. So what will the visitors see, smell, experience? Include clear photos, again, really important for marketing your event, including times and prices. So we do encourage farms, although to participate in Open Farm Days, you have to have free tours. So that access to the farm has to be free. There has to be an educational component. Our mandate is ag education as well as agritourism. So there has to be a free tour component, but that doesn't mean that you can't make money from Open Farm Days by having enhanced tours. And enhanced tours could be, you can pay extra to go pet animals up in real life, or you can have a hayride or other ways that you can kind of charge visitors to participate in certain things. So having that information on your description is very important, so that when visitors come to your farm, they know exactly what they get. Again, put yourself in their position. If you were to show up at your farm and all of a sudden things are paid and they didn't know, they'd be quite angry. And so having those descriptions is really important, including rules for your farms. So a very common rule would be no pets. So if people want to bring their dogs, it's never a good idea to bring your pets to a farm, but having those rules clearly stated on your description is important. And the last thing is the correct GPS coordinates. We talk about this a lot at Open Farm Days, because in rural communities, the description could be, go 2 miles west and then turn right at the red barn. Urban people are not using those descriptions. They're pulling the coordinates out of Google Maps and going from there. So having the correct GPS coordinates on your description is really important to help people find you. If people can't find you, they're not coming to your event. So other ways that you can market your event are through social media, your community organizations, farmers markets. So you can hand out postcards, send out your news release. We can help you do that. And then working with partners to cross promote. Social media is only one part of a marketing wheel. Marketing is so much more than social media. It is how you get the word out about your business. And so using lots of different ways to talk about your Open Farm Days event, including maybe that's going to your regional tourism bureau, or maybe that's talking to your ag societies or 4-H to help get the word out in your community. And then I'm done. I'm going to pass you over to Tanis.
All right. Hi, everyone. So I'm here to help you with some of the food aspects, whether you're a farm or a community group. If you're serving food, there's a few regulatory stuff that's really important to know about. So for those of you that are new, if you've registered, you've probably seen our website. There is, again, as Nicola mentioned, that host resource section. And in that host resource section, you will find some videos, some training, all sorts of materials to help you sort of get your head wrapped around what some of the options are. You're going to find a culinary resource handbook that'll tell you some of the rules and regulations. And then we have little video snippets from many of our partners that include Alberta Health Services, and they're talking about what you need to do to have your event on your farm. Also from AGLC to talk about liquor permits, and if you want to serve or sell alcohol on your farm as part of your culinary experience, and also details about organizing local food events in the province. There are some regulatory stuff that we have to go through, but it's not all that complicated, and most of the stuff has no cost to it. So for Alberta Health Services, all of the permitting or anything that we need is free of charge. So it's just an opportunity for you to understand what you need to do as an event host. Okay. Nicola, can you transition for me? Thank you. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about pricing in a second, but for food, we're going to talk a little bit about the whys. And what I'd like to challenge people is to think, we've already talked about the fact that Open Farm Days is a free educational experience, but our goal is for this to be a commerce experience for you as well. And we find that a lot of people are basically very interested in buying what you have, We encourage our travelers to bring their empty coolers with them. Come hungry. There's going to be lots of things to eat and drink and purchase. So that is your opportunity really to make some money on this program. And food is a great place to kind of consider what you can do. And we usually ask people, write down what your goals are. Think about what you want to do. Because a lot of times people think, well, I just want to make money. So it's really a question of what is your goals? How much would you like to make? What do you have for sale? How is it priced? Those sorts of things. So really challenge you to actually define what your own personal goals are. So is it making a profit? Sometimes it's more about drawing attention to the fact that you've got products, something new that you might want to sell. You might test out something new. You might have neighbors that you want to work with, that you want to collaborate with, and they might have stuff as well. So it's sort of figuring out how do all of these things work together. Next slide, please. So there's many concepts. We'll talk a little bit about what requires permits and what doesn't. There's many things that don't require permits, but some that do. Concepts that we see that different farms have done in agritourism here in Alberta or in other countries are things like field dinners or farm to table dinners or barn dinners, pig roasts, product and food sampling, wine or mead tastings, picnics. Oops. Apparently Nicola thinks I'm going too slowly. Picnics, barbecues, artisan food markets, and box lunches. Those are just some of the little ideas that we can have. And some of these do require the permits, as I mentioned, some don't. So if you want to sample or taste food, if it has been prepped by you at your commercial or in an approved kitchen, you will need a little permit from AHS. And essentially what AHS wants to know is, do you know how to keep hot things hot and cold things cold? And what we're looking to avoid is any foodborne illnesses. So they want to make sure that you've got a proper sanitizer spray for your counters and your services, and that everything is being cleaned and prepared properly. So that's really what they're looking for. The permits are pretty easy to do. The processing takes about 30 days. And we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. And some things don't require permits. So you can sample things like whole berries and vegetables and things like that, and you don't require anything special for that. So it's really stuff that might be considered an at-risk food. So here's a bit of an example of some of the stuff that you do or don't need permits for. So if you have products that you're selling, if you're selling hamburgers and smokies, and if you have your approvals for those things. If you provide a barbecue or a grill or an outdoor pit for people to cook at, those sorts of things don't, because your meat is inspected and it has been sold, and that part is fine. If you start to sell that cooked meat, that's where you start to need those permits. And essentially what they want to know is that you know how to appropriately clean the grill, and that you are looking at proper internal temperatures. So really what they're looking to do is make sure that you understand the proper food handling so that there's no outbreaks of anything. Other things that you can also do is work with caterers and food trucks and many other different partners, and they carry with them their own permits. So there's lots of easy ways to add food that doesn't require, and then there's a little bit more challenging ones, but it's kind of interesting just to go through the process and understand what you can do on your farm and what you can't, where the limitations are. But this is an absolutely fabulous way to make some extra dollars and also to trial your products depending on what you sell on your farm. But it is a great profit center for you. All right, permits. You know, as soon as we start to talk about permits, it usually gets people a little bit nervous. And we actually had a great person from Alberta Health Services that's part of our Open Farm Days team. And she is a great resource. But there are AHS offices all over Alberta. And what we're looking for particularly are the ones that are public health. And they will be able to give you guidance about what you do and don't need. There is an online permit that you can just go and you just kind of walk through it. But we have a video on our Open Farm Days host side that walks you through every frame of it. So if you're looking at doing this, I would suggest you take sort of 15 minutes and watch the quick video. And that is where they walk you through what all the questions they're going to ask and what you need to know in advance of it. Typically, you want 30 days out to get your permit in. And I usually recommend going about 60 days just to make sure that you have that in hand ahead of time. And if you have to make any changes, you've got enough time to do that. So it's pretty straightforward, but you know, and I think it's a great process. The next permit on the next slide is with AGLC. AGLC is so that you can have liquor on your farm. There's a couple of different ways that you can do this, and the permits look different depending on what you want to do. If you want to have a little lunch and serve a beer with it, that's a special event permit. If you want to invite one of your neighboring farms, or sorry, one of your neighboring businesses, if you've got a local brewery and you want to invite them to sell off sales, that would be an artisan permit. There's no cost to an artisan permit. It just takes a little bit of time. So there's all sorts of different ways. So I suggest if you want to do that is just get in touch with me. We can kind of talk through what the opportunities are for you and the best way to proceed for doing this. We do have contacted AGLC that has taken Open Farm Days under her wings as well. So we can put you directly in touch with AGLC for any of those questions that you might have as well. But start with us and we can help you with developing your concept, and so that you've got an idea of what you're looking for. And again, there's videos for this as well on our host section. All right. So we're going to wrap it up with a couple of the comments and stuff of why Open Farm Days. And, you know, as we're entering our 10th year here, it's pretty exciting. We're moving about 45,000 people around Alberta in non-COVID years. So there's a lot of people that are really interested in seeing what happens. And some of the feedback that we're seeing is really delightful. Each year, we are pretty much seeing more and more more and more people spending more and more money and spending more time out in rural Alberta. So we absolutely would love to have you as part of our team and helping to kind of grow that awareness. I thought these were great. Even local participants were able to see farms in the area that they did not know about previously. So what we see is a lot of people that are traveling around. So we've got people coming from urban centers into rural, but we also have a lot of people that are in rural settings that are going and visiting their neighbors, checking things out. We've had lots of success stories with people that, you know, sort of 6 months later, they found out that it was actually another farm that was visiting them. And we've had, you know, pairs of breeding stocks of goats and all sorts of different things that are happening as an outcome from it, outside of the obvious agritourism. And I think what's really neat is this is that opportunity for you to really play around with agritourism and see if it might be a fit for you. You can take advantage of the training resources that we have, the insurance that we have for the programs, porta potties and stuff that we cover some costs for, and little checklists for your farms so that you can start to get into agritourism and explore what those opportunities are with a bit of a safety net around you and that opportunity to move forward. So there's 3 of us here that are sort of the active front-facing parts of Open Farm Days. So Suzanne Kelly, she is basically the program manager for Open Farm Days. So she is your high-level contact for anything about the program as a whole. Nicola does all of the media marketing. She'll help you with your descriptions of your farms. If you want to make changes to your descriptions, then Nicola is your go-to person there. If you've got questions about media, your press releases and things that you want to get out there, she's absolutely your person for that. And if you've got questions around Alberta Health Services, Alberta Liquor and Gaming, and perhaps conceptualizing some of your farm experiences, then I'm your go-to person for that. So we're all available to take your phone calls, have chats, and really help you think through some stuff. We've got some good experience about what has worked in the past and maybe a few things people have struggled with. So we're really quite happy to have those conversations with you. But you know, I do challenge you to take advantage of the resources that we have on that host side. So happy to open it up to any questions that you may have. I know that you've been putting stuff in the chat, which I think we're staying on top of, but I'll open up the floor if anyone has any questions, and feel free to unmute yourself and go from there.
Oh, the big question, how many people can we expect? So this is like the $1 million question. It really does depend on how close you are to an urban center. If you are, let's say within an hour of Edmonton or an hour of Calgary, depending on the year, during COVID year, they could expect up to 100. We've had farms that are in so Pincher Creek. So you've got people coming from Lethbridge. So it depends. It really does depend. Like, we can't give you like a guaranteed number of how many people to expect. It really does depend on the year. It depends on, how comfortable people are gathering again this year. But 2019, where it was pre-COVID, the closer you were to the center, the more people you could expect. So my gut reaction is to tell you to connect with farms that have participated before. But to kind of give you an idea, Good Morning Honey, they're about 45 minutes outside of Edmonton. They had about 400 people come to visit their farm during Open Farm Days. Up in St. Paul region, there was 3 or 4 farms that all worked together. They had 900 people over a weekend. So it depends on, do you have farms near you, or how close are you to a metropolitan or an urban center? And, are you working as part of a cluster, or, like those kinds of things are variables are, so we can't really give you an exact answer, but it depends. Sorry.
Heidi, if I could add to that, the cluster conversation is really important. So when when all those little dots start to appear on the maps, people sort of start to plan out where they're going to go. So they will go a further distance, but they want to make sure that if they're going to drive further, there has to be more than one thing to see, or that one thing that they're going to see has enough offerings for it to make sense to them. So really what we do challenge some of our farms where there's the opportunity, if you have a couple of neighboring farms, is to say, hey, look, thinking about doing Open Farm Days, maybe there's 3 of us that can get together and work together. And then we've got sort of 3 destinations or so that can really partner. I do know that we've got, more and more farms each year. This year, we're sort of expecting to rebound back to our traditional numbers. But I really think that finding a couple neighbor farms are good things. The other thing we often challenge people to do too is things like artisan markets. So an artisan market is, invite your neighbors, invite them in, give them tables and booths so that people can come and take part in what you're offering. They can also be this shared communal thing. So you might have that opportunity to work with a local ag society or other places. And when we've seen farms work together, either on one land or as a trail, we see better results.
I think I always like to speak from the consumer point of view. I am in an urban center too, with prior to Open Farm Days, not a lot of rural or farm experience. So what I always like to say is, if you are going on a day road trip, would you drive for 2 hours to go to one farm? No. You are more likely to drive for 2 hours or more if you're going to drive there and see more farms. The cluster part is really important. There was a farm, an alpaca farm out in Rocky Mountain House. They weren't really close to anyone, but they were a small farm, and they were happy to have, their goal was 30 to 40 people over a weekend. They always hit their goal. So have, some realistic expectations. If you want more people, it's always good to have more farms around you that are participating.
Great, Jackie, you've got a question.
Not so much a question, it's just that this is our first time we're doing this, and we're quite nervous about this whole thing. We live about an hour and a half from Edmonton, so it's a fairly far away, but we're just kind of, our biggest worry is, are we going to do this right? Do we, to follow the procedures? This is a whole new experience for my husband and I, and we're pretty excited about telling our history, but is there activities that we need to do for the kids, can we do activities for the younger generations, such as, you know, if we make them use our bison hide, we can make leather bookmarks, or I know we're taking them out into the fields. I know we're hoping to, like, we have an inspected facility here. We're hoping to do a bison burger lunch. Now, I just need to know what kind of procedures that we need to do, because we're pretty excited about this whole idea.
Wonderful. A lot of kids come out, so we highly recommend activities for kids. You know, it's required to have that free educational stuff, but there's other things that you can charge for. So if you want to have a, you know, a bookmark making thing and make it a couple bucks or whatever, that, you know, there's lots of things that you can charge for that makes sense. And then same with your food part. You know, when people have come out there, it's great for them to have bison burgers, things like that they can do. So absolutely, if your meat's obviously inspected. So when you've got inspected meat, then basically what you need is just that simple permit for it, which is walking you through the process of hot things hot and cold things cold. And we can help you with that. So that's not a problem. The videos are on the host resource page, but we can kind of walk you through it and chat about, you know, your different ideas and stuff like that. Absolutely. I will say we also have a reservation option too for first time farms. And if you ask people to sign up, what that's going to give you is a bit of a benchmark of how many people you might be able to expect, which is not necessarily a bad thing to have for the first year. We do have people that are just going to show up because our registration system, we only started 2 years ago. So, you know, for many years before, people just knew to show up and that was fine. So it's hard to retrain people that have done it differently. But that is something that you might want to consider, just to give you an idea of that. And it also does allow you to limit your numbers as well. So you might say, I have a capacity, like you have to sign up, but I can only take 30 people within a 2 hour time limit or something. And it can control that a little bit. And if not, it can give you a good idea. It might be like, all right, well, I've got 20 people signed up, so I know I've got 20.
I just want to say 2 points. So you are an hour and a half from Edmonton. You're not that far. Can I ask what county you're in?
We're in the Barrhead County.
Okay, so Barrhead, Barrhead actually has a great program for Open Farm Days, and I would suggest you connect with some farms. I think we already have a couple farms participating in Barrhead. Barrhead has a great Open Farm Days program. So yeah, I would connect with other farms in Barrhead and try and I'll have to go have a look, but I think connecting with your community would be a great idea, because Barrhead does do a great thing. And there's something going on that weekend as well. So I would definitely connect with your community to see who else is participating. You're not that far. You're actually right within that 2 hour frame of people willing to travel, especially since there are other farms participating in that region. You're more likely to get more people attending. And then to Tanis's point about the registration, we had to start the registration through during COVID times, so we could manage if there was a super spreader event at one of the farms. Thankfully, there was never that problem. But for the smaller farms, because not all farms are ranches with hundreds and hundreds of acres, some farms are smaller, like apiaries tend to be smaller, wineries tend to be smaller. And you don't want 100 people showing up at a time. We trialed the booking system. Well, we had to trial the booking system during COVID, but many farms really enjoyed it, because it does, like as Tana said, give you a benchmark of how many people are going to show up. As Tana's also said, some people will not book, but we can add that onto your description on your profile on the website, where it says book here. Or now some people won't read it. That's just human nature. They just don't see the fine details, but having that booking system, if you prefer to have a smaller outcome, is a good way to kind of approach that.
Well, I did register already, so some of those things I might have to change.
Yeah,
so
and that's totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're in Barrhead, I would honestly though connect with your community. Let me get back to you, because I will go have a look at who's participating there already.
I know Walter Pregshaw is one of them.
Walter's great. Yes.
Yeah, I know Walter. He was the one that introduced us to this, so
Good.
we'll see.
Okay, I'm just
Thanks.
writing this down. Yeah. There was a couple in the chat here that I'll just kind of read out. So yeah, you don't have to have, so Open Farm Days is about anything to do with agriculture. We have a dam that participates down south because that's important part of agriculture. So anything where there's an agricultural piece and then a piece for ag education, those all qualify for Open Farm Days. Of course, yeah, they own Global. So for donations, a lot of farms have done that where they say if you're, because it has to be free, you cannot charge people to come onto your property for Open Farm Days. That's another part of ag tourism that we don't participate in. But if you did this ag tourism on your own, you could definitely charge people, but not for Open Farm Days weekend. A lot of farms do have donations for, so let's say you do a hayride, you know, you can charge $10 for a hayride, or you can ask for a donation to charge for a hayride, and then you can give that to a charity of your choice. So absolutely. You don't have to have food served. That's entirely up to you. Food is just one component that you can have. That's like tasting a good taste of place, but also a revenue generator as well. And I know that 900 people from St. Paul is a little overwhelming. They were a well-oiled machine. And if you want me to connect you with the Community Futures team up in St. Paul, I can do that. They were a very, very well-oiled machine. They were ready for that many people. Any other questions?
Yeah, well, feel free. Oh, go ahead. Oh, there's a bunch more. Keep going, Nicola.
Okay, so yes, okay, the website. I keep going on about the website. Usually what happens when you register for Open Farm Days, your farm automatically gets uploaded onto our website, but we are getting a new website and it looks beautiful, but it's just taking longer, as sometimes these things do. When that happens, then it would automatically go up and you could go to the Open Farm Days website and like, there's my farm, and then you can start promoting your farm and we can edit your, we can edit your description. We're just hoping that it's launching in 2 weeks, so just be patient with that. If you're not sure whether your registration went through, just send us an email at info at Alberta Open Farm Days email, and I can, or send me a message right now and I can go check for you. And yes, Shane, I will do that for sure.
All right, and I'll just touch on the insurance. So Open Farm Days gets blanket group insurance that is in each of the farms' names for Open Farm Days. The reason we do this is because a lot of the farms that are opening aren't typically open for visitors, so they're just starting to explore agritourism. So for these reasons, we have, I think it's a $2 million policy that covers the farms for incidental stuff. There are a few exclusions and stuff to it. So as we start to kind of review our policy for this year, we will get that information out to everybody, but you will have that coverage. So it's, that's our opportunity to remove some of the risk and some of the barriers for people starting to explore agritourism when their farm policies don't include coverage for people coming on their farm.
Yes, of Birch Creek Farms, you are registered. High Country Berries, it sounds familiar, but let me get back to you, Daryl.
And then, of course, as soon as our website goes live in a couple of weeks, you'll be able to see all your, that's where we'll start sort of some of the promotional stuff, and you'll be able to see your farms, the neighborhood farms that are in your area. And again, we still have our open registration until the end of the month. So that opportunity to encourage other farms around you, that will that will bolster the numbers that you receive as well.
Yeah. And I would, when the website goes live and then you go have a look at the other farms around you, I would connect with them and see how you can work together to market your Open Farm Days events. As we mentioned before, when the farms work together, they have much more success than they do if you're a sole person out there. Now, not to say that if you're the outlier in that community that you won't have success, you will. It's just, works better for everyone if there's at least 2 farms in a region that are working. And then if you're working together, you're doubling your efforts. We don't have any Chamber of Commerce's involved because they're not farms. But Chamber of Commerce's can support your Open Farm Days event.
What we're also doing some new development projects this year around cluster development. And what we're trying to do is engage communities that include the farms, different people that are involved in, whether it's community futures, ag societies, chambers, to help them recognize the value of agritourism in the areas and that partnership of working together. So each year we sort of continue to expand the outreach and the people that we're working with to encourage more participation. A lot of times we don't even fully know the participation because a farm might register and they might be working with ag societies and different groups, but they're registered under one farm name, but they might have 7 or 8 or 10 different partners they're working with. So we don't always have all the intimate working knowledge of each of the programs, but absolutely makes sense to continue that expansion and outreach. And yes, we can, as we basically up until our registration closes, we call it a soft close at the end of May, so that we can move on to some of the marketing initiatives. We will sometimes accept some farms afterwards. But yeah, we can absolutely share all the farms and stuff at the end of May after we've closed registration or as we're nearing the close of it. And if there's others that you'd like to us to prompt, or if there's some that you think need some outreach and some questions, we're happy to connect with them as well. I will say, Shane, for your question, at our height, we had about 160 farms, and that was 3 years ago. The first year of COVID, our numbers we had seen, for that point up for the first 7 years is significant growth year after year of more and more farms joining. With COVID, we dropped from about 160 farms down to 75. And that was also because we didn't even open our registration until July. And there was a lot of concerns about having people on their properties in the early day of COVID. Our numbers rebounded quite nicely last year. We're over 100. And we anticipate to be back at that 160 number for this year. It is Open Farm Days has always been the weekend. So it is the Saturday, Sunday, and you can do a Saturday alone or a Sunday alone. So you can pick your days. We also do promote if people are doing sort of barn dinners and different events that might be a ticketed event, we're happy to promote those as well. But we promote them a little bit differently so that you don't have people showing up at your events that are ticketed expecting a free tour. So some opportunities there. We also work Open Farm Days falls during local food week. So we do other promotional awareness pieces that fall within that week as well, but pretty much it's the weekend for Open Farm Days. Yes, we can share the videos as well for this. We are going to take this video and just put it onto the host site. So you'll have access to this video as well, just for a chance to kind of run through it. But you'll find a lot more resources. This is meant to be just that overview of kind of what Open Farm Days is. And then the things that we've talked about in this presentation, you'll find access to those links and to those products as well.
This is our 10th year. So it's our 10th anniversary. So we do have a couple things happening for that, which will enhance our media presence this year, and something for you to try if you're interested. So we'll be launching that information once our website launches. So in 2 weeks, so stay tuned. And from that, we'll have a brand new host resource section, and it will be a lot prettier than it is now, with all the resources that you might need, including checklists, and our videos that you can look at a later date, deadlines and stuff. But if you are planning on having food on your farm as like a barbecue or whatever, I would watch out for emails from Tanis. If you've indicated on your registration form, keep an eye out from emails from Tanis, because she'll give you the deadlines for when those forms need to be done. If you're sending those forms in a week before Open Farm Days, you may or may not be have those licenses. So it's best to have all that done in advance. And it's actually best to kind of pick away at little pieces as you go. For marketing, I think one of the best things that you can do is go through your farm description and what it is that you're planning on having during your Open Farm Days event. It doesn't have to be well thought out. You don't have to have the tours and everything planned. But if you know that you will be having a tour at 10, 12, 2, and 4, then have that written on the description. If you know that you will be having hay rides and you're going to be charging $10, make sure you have that on the description. Have that planned out first, and then build your event out from there. And if we need to change it, we can, but it's best to have that description piece done first. And then we can use that description when we get media invites. So they said, is there a corn maze? Or I know we're late for corn mazes, but is there hay rides? What are there for children? Which farms have Indigenous experiences? Then we can more easily promote your farm and more easily connect you with media if they're looking for those experiences. So that description is vital. And that's the very first thing you should do, is finesse that.
All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us today, and good luck with your planning for Open Farm Days. And as I say, reach out to us. We're all here to help you plan it, put some ideas, or just bounce ideas around. So feel comfortable reaching out to any of us, and we look forward to seeing you for Open Farm Days. All right, bye-bye.